All right, so welcome to drafting training. This is the first official video of drafting training, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Today, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to talk about the company file folder structure. In addition to that, we're going to go over some things in Windows File Explorer, just navigating the overall organizational system that we have set up, um, going through Excel, Airtable, and an overview of the job-specific softwares that we use here, including Bluebeam and AutoCAD. But for this video, we are going to mostly just focus on the file structure of what we deal with from day in and day out. Part of that is going to be learning a little bit about Microsoft Teams. We're going to talk about that today, how to sync and desync projects from your computer. In addition to that, then we'll be going through one of those project folders so you can get a feel for how the project is typically set up. And these file locations all have specific uses for them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go and break that down. I'll also provide a detailed list of what all those file locations mean as well. I'll have that over to you. I'll probably save it in this folder as well. That way you have a copy of it if you ever want to get back to it. Anyways, let's start with Microsoft Teams. So if you haven't already opened Teams or it hasn't opened automatically, what you're going to do is go down to your start bar and you're going to type in Teams and it should come right up, or Microsoft Teams. Once you click that, you should see that show up here. Now, in Teams, it can be a little hard to navigate at first until you get the hang of it, but just taking a look at this for the purposes of what we're dealing with today, we are just going to focus on the job folder. So what we need to do is we need to go over to where it says Teams. All right, so we're going to go over to there on the left-hand side of your screen. And then you can see on my screen, I have several teams linked to my Teams account at the moment. However, because this is something to train you on how to sync a team, I need to find a team that I haven't already been involved with yet. So we're going to start by syncing this new team. It's called 6419 North Park 600. I have not looked at this job folder yet myself, so I don't really know what's in there yet, but let's go ahead and sync this. So again, we need to remember the job number, which is 6419. All right, so going back to Teams, in order to sync a team, all you're going to do is click on Teams on your sidebar, and then go up to the top of where your teams are all labeled. And you may not have very many right now, but you're going to go up here. You're going to go to create and join teams and channels, this little plus symbol here. Go up there, and you're going to go down to the lower option, join team. Okay. Now, when you click that button, you're going to see a giant grid of all the different teams that Onsite has in their system. Now, each project that we do has a team assigned to it, or a project number, which is a Teams folder, essentially. What we're going to do, instead of scrolling through all of these, what we can do is we need to find out 6419. So to locate that job, you're going to go up to the search bar up here, and you're going to type in 6419. And actually, I might already be synced to that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a different one. I'll pick an old job that I haven't been involved with in a long time. So let's go to, I'll just show you this for syncing a job. Let me pick one here. I'm going to go with we're going to go with this one here, 6305. So 6305. See, I don't have this one synced. So what happens is it just isolates that one tile. So you're seeing that one job. We're going to hit join team down here. And it will load for a quick second, but once it's done, it'll say joined team. And then if you would like to sync all the files that go with that team, you got to go back over to Teams here on the left-hand side and then locate that team. So on your sidebar, it should be labeled as new, so it makes it easy to find it. But you click on that team, so 6305 here. We're going to go into General. And then in General, you go up here to where it says Files. Okay, so once you're there, this is going to take a second to load. Okay, once it's loaded, now you have all these other options at the top of your screen. The one that is most important to you here is Sync. So you're going to click on this Sync button here, and this little dialog box will pop up, as well as this Microsoft OneDrive dialog box. What that is it's Microsoft telling you what it's doing is syncing the files from that job to your machine. So how syncing works is you have a file here. I'm in my file explorer now. So let's say I wanted to look at that job, Georgia Kitchen here, 6305. Okay, so once Microsoft Teams and Microsoft OneDrive have synced those files to your machine, you're going to see that each file in that job has a little blue cloud next to it. The little blue cloud represents the fact that all of our files are living on a cloud server. So as you modify or change things, your computer will automatically upload the updated file to the cloud, and then everybody else that has those files synced to their machine or has access to those files will then see those changes as they update. So the blue cloud is just to let you know that you are looking at a file that's on the cloud server. And that's really all that it means. Now, if you see a green checkbox next to something, what that means is that you have synced that file and a version of that file lives on your computer as well. So it's kind of confusing, but really what that means is that you have access to that file on your machine without having to download it off the cloud. Now, there's another symbol that might show up in here as well. There's a little hamster wheel of sorts, just like two little arrows. If you see that, what that means is that your computer is saving a file at that current moment, kind of like playing a video game. You're auto-saving that file. That file is currently in process of updating in the cloud server. So if you see a hamster wheel on there, like the two little arrows in a circle, all that means is that your computer is actively trying to upload or download a file off of the cloud. So none of these files have that, but just kind of representation of what those different statuses mean in your file explorer. That's what that is. So we're going to move on to going over the file structure. So file structure is pretty basic. Once you get the hang of it, there is a little bit of vocabulary that goes into it too, so it will take a little time to get used to that. But yeah, let's look at a new job here. So I'm going to take a look at, well, I guess we could use this Georgia Kitchen job as an example here. Well, I take that back. Let's go ahead and look at a newer job. I am going to pull up, let's look at 14th and Spring Lobby here. So this is a different job, different project, but it's also synced to my computer. So it would involve doing the same exact process we've already done here, except for I've already synced this folder to my machine. So everything is here. We're going to go ahead and dive right in. So every single job folder, when you click on the project name on your sidebar here, and again, these actually all live in this OSW drive. That is the cloud drive. So if you see that on your machine, that's what that is. It's our cloud server. Anyways, going back to the job folder here, we're going to jump right in. So 6417's 14th and Spring Lobby here. If you go into any job folder, you're going to be presented with these folders at the front. It involves contract pricing, drawings, outsourcing, photos, project management, and recordings. Now, there is a lot of folders here that we don't actually utilize in the drafting process for the most part. So we're only going to go over the ones that actually pertain to us on a daily basis. So some things you'll want to look for is every single job is going to have what's called a takeoff, which we'll talk about in the next video. But the takeoff is a document that is currently an Excel file, and it lives in the contract pricing folder. So again, we're going to talk about that takeoff document here in video 1 part B, which is going to just go over what a takeoff is and how to read those. I'll just kind of touch base a little bit. What a takeoff is it's pretty much a receipt for the items that um, we are going to be building for the client. So that is a really useful tool once you get into it. But again, we will come back to that. So let's go back here to our job folder. So other than that, in drafting, you're pretty much going to be using contract pricing to look up items in the receipt of which we're kind of building based on what the client wants. And the other folder that you're going to use a lot is called drawings. So if you go into this drawings folder here, you're going to see there are 14 subfolders within that folder. Now, don't get too worried because we're not going to be using all of those, but we are going to be using folders 1 through 7. So we're going to go over what those folders are and what they mean. And so, again, this will be on that sheet that I'm going to also include with this video. But let's look at the first folder in the set. So O1 Architecturals. O1 Architectural is a folder that we use pretty actively. It is a folder where all of the drawings that we receive from the architect, the client, contractor will live. So if you go into a folder like that, you're going to see a lot of PDF files. Now, those are all drawings that are given to us to price the job. They are given to us to draw the job and overall to kind of give us the design intent of the architect. So these drawings are produced by an architect, and then the architect will hire a GC, general contractor, and the general contractor will subcontract us and other companies to work on the building, whether you're a plumber, electrical, HVAC, millwork, what have you. So anyways, these are the drawings that are thrown together by the architect for all the other subtrades. So we're going to go into these eventually. I think I have that as part of, I have another video coming down the line. 2A, we're going to go over architectural print rating. We won't really be doing a lot of that today, but just to get you familiarized with the folders, this is where all of the architect's drawings are going to live. And that is for every single job. So other things that are in this folder that may be of use to you is I wouldn't say you really want to poke around too much in the original downloads or the archive folder really, but or maybe even unused drawings. You may not have to worry about that. But occasionally we will receive CAD files from an architect to let's say like they give you the floor plan or the reflective ceiling plan. So you're looking at the full building plan. They may be generous enough to give us a copy of that as a CAD file so that we are able to use that in our drafting process. Most times we do request that at the beginning of the job. That way we have it, and that way it's a useful tool for us to be able to actually use that in our process here. There are other folders in here too, like current specifications and equipment cut sheets. So these equipment cut sheets, if there are any like refrigerators or microwaves or different pieces of equipment that interact with the millwork, we will tend to drop those files in there. This particular job, I know this one doesn't have an equipment list on it, so there isn't anything in that folder right now, but typically you would see a list of all the different refrigerators, microwaves, sinks, faucets, those different things that interact with the millwork that would live within this equipment cut sheets folder here. There's other times you may need to use this folder here, trade shop drawings. That would be if there are any other building trades that are interacting with the work that we're doing. So maybe, let's say, we have to build a desk, and part of that desk, the electrician needs to run some wiring through that desk to put like a desktop light or something in there. Well, sometimes we may have those trade shop drawings from let's say the electrician in this case. Um, if we had those, we would throw them in that folder, and that way you'd be able to see what the electrician is requesting or what they need to be able to install their part of the scope. So really, the trade shop drawings is a folder where we're going to save any drawings that pertain to a different trade that is not, millwork, of course, that would also interact with our scope. Um, so that's kind of the gist of what that is. Occasionally, you will see highlighted drawings from the estimating team. Those would live in here if there were any. Highlighted drawing would mean like the floor plan would have like markups on it to tell you what scope that we have and where the scope lives. So that's really useful, and we do have that. Anything archive or original downloads, those things are just different sets of drawings that are either no longer active or in use, or they are just outdated. So we're not really going to mess with those. All right, but we will come back to the architectural print rating here in video 2A. So we're going to come back to that. Let's go back to the tree of folders that we have in the drawings folder here. Okay, so next up on the list, we have meeting notes, number 2. Meeting notes are going to contain a list of notes that pertain to the project that are going to be useful for you and the team. They're also going to house any type of video recordings of meetings, whether it's a handoff meeting, which is just a meeting at the beginning of the job to go over the scope of work. There might be red line review meetings in this folder as well, or maybe just some miscellaneous recordings of meetings that also are helpful or pertinent to what we do. So as you're going through your project, or as you're going through a new drawing, you're going to want to pay attention to this folder as well as that folder. Let's see, the folder with the takeoff, the contract pricing folder. Those two are going to be very useful as far as like recognizing what our scope is and understanding what are some of the little minor details that may not be on the architecturals there, but maybe pertain to everything across the entirety of the job. So yeah, meeting notes, very useful. They're going to house any type of notes that relate to the job as well as any recordings there. Moving down the list. Okay, so the next folder here is new drafting files. So it's kind of hard to explain what this one is. So what really is happening here is new drafting files is where the drafting team will save any of their PDF drawings, like any type of a preliminary drawing. Before it gets checked, before it goes through the review process, the drawing will get put in this folder here, and this folder here is just to house those until they're checked. Once the drawing is checked, it will either go into a folder, which we'll talk about here shortly, called prelim plots, or it'll go into the corrections folder, both of which we're going to be talking about here shortly. So anyway, on that sheet, you'll see this too, but new drafting files, that's where you're going to save all of your PDF drawings. So we'll go through that here again in a little bit. Moving down the list, prelim project, not to be confused with prelim plots. Prelim project is a folder where all of your AutoCAD files, your .dwgs, your .dwts, your .dxf files, any of those things are going to live in prelim project. It's really important that we note that. So as of right now, this project is fairly new. So you can see there are some drawings in there, but it's really just the floor plan file and the drafting template. So Anyways, prelim project is where any type of AutoCAD file will live in the job folder. So again, if you have any sort of CAD file, it will go there. Any sort of PDF, you're going to save it in new drafting files. So moving down that list a little further, you can see we have corrections up next at number 5. So in the corrections folder, there are 2 folders. There's one called drafting corrections and one called PM corrections or project manager corrections. So let's say you've turned in a drawing, you've plotted it, you put it in that new drafting files folder. Maybe you forgot to put a note on the drawing, or maybe you forgot to put a cabinet door or pole or something on there. What'll happen is that drawing goes through the review phase of the project. Typically what'll happen is I'll check the drawing, and if I have any notes or markups or anything like that for you before we send it on to the actual architect to review, that drawing with markups will get moved into this folder here. And when we get into our database system and Airtable later on, we'll talk about how you'll know if your drawing is in this folder. But the important thing to note right now is that any drawings that have any sort of corrections to them are going to get moved to this folder here. You'll get notified when the drawing gets moved over. That way you're aware that there are changes to be made. But anyway, for the time being, that's another step in the process. So if a drawing has corrections, it'll go there. If you've made corrections to that file and you're ready to send it back in for re-review, you will then put it back into new drafting files here as well. Anyways, that's kind of the gist of that. All right. And then we've talked about prelim project, we talked about corrections. So the next step in that process would be prelim plots. So prelim plots, that is any finalized drawings from the drafting team. So any drawings that have made it through the review, correction, re-review type of process, and they have been approved, those drawings that have been approved get moved into prelim plots, and then you may never have to mess with them again, potentially, but they're going to be moved into here, and that's where they go prior to them being sent to the architect for review. So this is like the finalized type of work. Like there are no other changes for our team to make as far as we're aware. We'll put them in here, and then we will send them on to the architect once all the drawings are set to go. You may notice that there are some other drawing or other folders that are in this folder as well. So below prelim plots, we have a folder called red lines in there. Now this folder here is a folder that houses any drawing changes that have been made by the architect. What I mean by that is that in this point in the process, we have sent the architect the drawings. The architect has spent some time reviewing those drawings, and then they will send them back in a form of a drawing called a red line. That red line will get saved into this folder here. Typically what it'll be is a combined set of all of the drawings that have been sent out with the architect's notes on them. We'll talk about what that means later as far as that goes and how to know when you have red lines for your work. But anyways, that's what that folder is for. I think there's nothing really else in this folder that we really need to look at the moment. Let me make sure I don't have any other notes or any other folders to look at with you. Nope, that should be it. So as far as the current file structure goes, this is what we're dealing with, kind of what we're looking at here. I'll get you a sheet that has notes on it as far as like documenting what these different folders mean, where they're located, and all of that jazz. And then that should cover everything we need to cover here in this first video. All right. So in the next one, we're going to be we're going to be taking a look at the takeoff document from estimating. So get prepared for that. That'll be kind of a how to interpret a rate of takeoff, really. So we'll look at that one next.